Hello folks. Keep making videos and all, but this is the fourth one, and I felt like I needed to kind of, sum up some of the stuff that I was doing, last three or first three. But like I keep saying, I wasn't fairly represented this whole time, and I was, really confused. My wife is pregnant, and we're going through a lot already, and so. She's having a, high-risk pregnancy, and I'm trying to return back to work and not really understanding what's going on, other than I really wanted a job with URM, and I needed a devil's endorsement. And then, I was in on May 1st, to get my devil's endorsement, and then found out that I forgot to send my copy of my DOT physical to the Department of Transportation in Texas. And so now I was left with having to fly there to get that done. And so I took July off in hopes of, getting better, and making that flight. But the whole setting thing, the driving thing was really aggravating my back, and so I just wasn't able to do that. But that whole month, we're still thinking this whole month that, off of the first X-ray, that this is my spine. Okay, it's still got the natural curve and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's what we're thinking, and because all we're being told is that lumbar strain, age-related changes, and all of that. Well, the employer again is reporting things that they're really taking care of me and whatnot, and so this is back to the March. You have 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. These days that I worked, this one was a text message, that I was working late, and then I don't know if I had a chiropractor appointment that I had to run to after that. It was all race, rush. There wasn't, everything was overlapping. In the end, we're kind of really questioning whether, that, and I'll share with you the first MRI, that they saw something severe, and at that point they were just looking to get rid of me. That's the only thing that makes sense, because there was no sympathies, there was no working with me, there was no hey, let's put this guy off and help this guy out. There wasn't any of that. It was rather confusing. It was like they were pushing all this stuff back on me and making me feel just a constant making me feel bad about it. And I don't understand all of that, and I don't understand people's emotions or people's motives at all. I just know that I was getting worse and we weren't being taken care of. And so you have all these days, and that's just them saying that we're not going to take care of you. And I was a new employee, only there just almost 2 years, and not 2 years, about a year and a half or something like that. So then I'm seriously injured because, to be quite frank, they were operating these departments grossly understaffed, and there was at one point in time where they had 5 meat cutter floaters to cover all the stores, and you got to understand, the senior meat cutters get their 4 weeks off a year vacation, and then if something else comes up, then there's no coverage, and that's the reason there was always a push to get back to work. And they were basically lying to my doctor, saying they were giving me all this time off, which they weren't. They were basically, fabricating and lying about how much I was lifting, and I don't know if the next step is that, they're going to try to state that, I'm not mentally sound. I don't know, but it's really hard, in my condition, knowing where I was and where I'm at today, to not get, upset about these things. Get emotional about them. I don't know anybody that wouldn't. We're not robots. We do hurt. We do have frustrations and anxieties and whatnot. And everybody expresses those differently. I'm not a robot. I'm not college educated to know how to properly express myself in that way. And so all I can do is what I can do. I'm just claiming I'm an injured worker that wasn't taken care of. When the first MRI comes out, the first MRI, I'll just explain this to you. they stated that that there was an L2 and 3 diffuse disc. Well, we understand a diffuse disc is a herniation, and there was bulging in through here. That identifies exactly the amount of lifting that I was doing. Of course, you know, the first pallet was your deli meats and whatnot, and they would be putting that out, and then they'd work the freezer so they knew what they were getting and whatnot. And I would be back there trying to clear off everything out of the middle of the floor of the cooler. And that could be 1.5, 2 pallets, depending on what we have coming in. And I know that burger ad we had, I mean, my goodness, we were getting pallets of 1,500 pounds of shoulder clods. And then all this repetitious lifting and you know, meats up into the hopper. And they're saying that I wasn't grinding. Well, when all you're selling is hamburger, well, what am I doing? You know, I know that I wasn't, you know, every now and then I'd come out there and help at the counter, you know, to wrap when they got behind. But, you know, and also know that they sent a new guy over to the deli. We were grossly understaffed. And so, you know, the day that I got hurt was a freight day. We got more shoulder clods in, and the wrapper wasn't working. And so the guy that was the assistant, the other meat cutter, he was doing the case pulls, he was doing the lighter stuff, because that could take upwards of 2.5 hours. And then he was in there wrapping hamburger as I was running it through. And so it was just, you know, chaotic. It was a mess. And so I can see why they would not want that to, you know, those facts to be known. And so now you have a, you know, the second one is now you have a shift. The second one, the second MRI, you have a shift in the vertebrae, retrolisthesis, and that was a herniation in there. And then you had a bulge here, that a minimal bulge. Let's see here. This is right now, this is turned into a diffuse disc. You know, it's always back to work. There wasn't any, you know, hey, let's see what we can do for you. You know, this is a workers' comp. This is self-insured employer, you know, and it seems to be quite apparent that they were just looking to, you know, to cut corners, or they definitely weren't helping me. They're just back to work, get back to work, get back to work. And so a diffuse disc, and then and so you have this, and you got a diffuse disc, and then you got, on the second one, you have a now, which was a bulge, now you have a protrusion. Now a protrusion is a herniation that's protruded past a certain point, and that's what I would have saw in my chiropractor's office, you know, on August 22nd. And now I don't even know what's going on with MRIs. The last MRI, you know, what was being shown us was, you know, the discs were all shaded in, you know, and even when I got to an orthopedic surgeon's office, you know, because I remember asking him about the T1, and, you know, when I became, you know, when we began to study these, there's a difference between T1 and T2. You know, he was showing us ones that didn't have the discs in there. And I remember bringing that up to him, but he also, you know, an 829 ER visit, you know, noted paresthesia, and then another person, you know, in that same time frame in there noted radiculopathy, and I think those are kind of intertwined. This guy changed it to shakes, so now I've got the shakes. But also, which is you know, quite revealing, is that this doctor that read this, he said that, now I didn't ever go to this doctor. He stated that I had fell in February in May. You know, I mean, I didn't tell him that. I mean, so where's he getting that from? But so you know, the only thing that makes sense is they're changing the narrative, because nobody will talk to me about this area right here. You know, in fact, they won't say anything related to the discs. You know, we have audio because we wanted to understand what's going on, so we, you know, recorded this. But so the second one, you have a protrusion here, and then the third one was back to retrolisthesis, and then you have mild central stenosis. Now that's when the disc is actually touching the nerve, the spinal cord. And then you have at L3 now, for 3 right in here, I believe, is a a left side annular bulge, left side disc bulge. That's when it's actually, you know, pushing, let me see. That's when it is, wow, so unprepared. Okay, so when it's pushing out on the left, you know, on the left more to, it's going to touch that nerve leaving out. And so now, and also that's at L3 and 4, and then with foraminal stenosis, that's at L3 and 4, foraminal stenosis. That's here at these spots right here, spinal cord, these spots right here, and L4 and 5, some disc height loss. And so now you got a minor annular bulge. Well, at L5, and that was a protrusion. And so, you know, it's the X-ray that we finally got, because we have yet to see the actual third MRI, which is actually put into a different file, and the doctors afterwards didn't have the, you know, didn't have that available. And later it was found, but we've never seen it. You know, I saw the first and second one in my chiropractor's office. He noted the differences. You know, it wasn't explained thoroughly to me, but, and so what you have now is, instead of, you know, where you have your disc spaces, you know, like this, or disc spaces like this, where you can see your, you know, there's good spacing right here at your disc. Now you have this V shape here, and we kind of lightly were able to see that on the MRI, the third MRI CD that we got, you know, but it's all shaded in. You can't see the discs, but you can see this right here is V-shaped, and then you can see it's just basically V-shaped up through here with, you know, where everything is getting closer on this end. So we're going, you know, I'm just not quite sure what to think about that, because now today I'm crippled and trying to get, you know, something that I shouldn't be, you know, I shouldn't have to, which is disability. So you basically go back to, what did they do for me? I mean, it was, you know, ignoring the pain, ignoring the symptoms, you know, ignoring all these things, sending me back to work, releasing me back to full duty in June 21st. And the only thing that makes sense is that at that point, the only way that they are going to get out of this is if they can get some doctors, you know, IMEs, a lot of them are retired doctors that make a lot of money, and, you know, working for the companies, you know, working for the insurance companies, in this case, you know, self-insured employer. So the only now, right now, what they've done is that they all pointed it to pre-existing. You know, even as I'm getting worse, it's all predated the injury. I mean, you be the judge of that. But all I know is what my condition is, and it's obvious according to X-ray now. Now we have some definition that everything's kind of pushed out, where my hips, you know, I've been wondering why my hips are so shoved this way, where I feel like that now I've got this, you know, this action here, or this move where my hips are pushed this way. Well, I think that that's right here. All this is V-shaped, and all this is just kind of all pushed in. Again, the only thing I was doing during that time is work, being forced to work, chiropractic, and physical therapy. That's it. And trying to help my wife with the grocery shopping and things like that. That's it. And then spending the other time on the couch. In fact, the last year, you know, I haven't done anything at all. Anything at all, except for, you know, try to put together something so people can see what we're up against here. And now we're at defending my mental state. So they are really, we believe, just still attacking us on this, because they really messed up my back last year, and now they're, you know, now I can't show any emotion. Now I can't show any frustrations now, because, you know what, and now it can be used against me to show what. So, but I've got a family. I've got children and my wife, and we're having to leave here because we've sold everything that we own. But, you know, that's the nature of workers' comp. If you research it, there's news stations out east that are picking this stuff up, because these companies are letting their injured workers down. And this is basically very gross. this is very gross, and but we're very much aware that we doubt anybody's going to take it, because it just there's just too much that happened. You know, there's too many, there's too much that happened. We'll just leave it at that. And so we just continue to ask for your prayers, and you know, just pray that God would you know, help us to find a way to get this fixed. Now I've got all this damage, and I can't do anything. And the only answer for me to get back to work is this right here, is to get this, you know, get all this stuff fixed. And so, you know, thank you so much for your time. I just thought I'd give you, you know, some definition to what we're looking at and my condition. And again, this was an x-ray that shows that everything from first x-ray to second x-ray, everything's pushed forward, which means that you've had a collapse, you know, of these discs right here, you know, like this. And so part of your disc over here on this end is collapsed, and, you know, pushing everything, you know, collapsing everything that way. So, you know, it's a very emotional time, but, you know, we're trying our best to forgive, to move past this, but yet within that context, get something that resembles treatment.